In tackles for a loss. After selecting Victor Wembanyama with the number 1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs have been on a steady rise up the charts. In Wembanyama's rookie season, the Spurs were 22-60 and lost 18 straight games. In year 2, the Spurs were 34-48. This season, the Spurs finished 62-20, second best record in the NBA behind Oklahoma City. This surge has taken the Spurs all the way to the NBA Finals. Game 1 against the Knicks is Wednesday night, 5:30 tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man!
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Jesse Jackson Ford, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Tenacious Tuesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And on Tuesdays in the first hour, we're always lighting it up with Liz King. So if you're on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, or the 110, put your seatbelt on. Liz King recently served as Education Equity Senior Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, a position she held from 2015 until 2025. In this role, Ms. King led the organization's work to ensure that all students are fully included in welcoming schools from early childhood through post-secondary education that prepare them for college, careers, life, and the full exercise of their social, political, and economic rights. Liz, welcome forward to your show, Lighting It Up with Liz. How are you,
Liz? Congressman, this is definitely your show, but I'm honored to be included. Thank you for having me back on.
I am so grateful that you're here, and I'm also very grateful that you brought our very special guest, Dr. James Jones, is Associate Professor of Africana Studies and Sociology and the inaugural director of the Sheila Y. Oliver Center for Politics and Race in America at Rutgers University in Newark. In his scholarly work, Dr. Jones studies racial representation and inequality in American political institutions and centers the career experiences and perspectives of Black government workers. He's also the author of The Last Plantation from Princeton University Press, which analyzes how racism shapes the U.S. congressional workplace and, in return, how Black staffers resist unequal and racist work conditions. He's a leading expert on congressional staff diversity and authored 3 groundbreaking policy reports on racial representation among Hill staffers. Dr. Jones, welcome forward to Lighting It Up with Liz and to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm very excited you're here as well. Dr. Jones, I can only imagine that at this hour, there's great demand for your time. And I'm so grateful that Liz invited you to spend this hour with us in this era where when this administration was first sworn in to office, more than 300,000 African-American women were summarily dismissed from their jobs, not because they weren't qualified or because they weren't capable, but simply, increasingly, the numbers and the evidence are beginning to reflect simply because they were Black. And as you know, I served on Capitol Hill for more than 17 years. I think it was 9 successive terms as a congressman. And the sensitivity that you bring to diversity in the workplace on Capitol Hill matters. Dr. Jones, share with our listeners why it matters.
Well, so thank you again so much for being on the show and sort of talk to your audience about congressional staff, right? So many people don't think about staffers or people who work on Capitol Hill. They are the invisible force in American lawmaking. As you know, very firsthand, your days when you were on Capitol Hill were packed from sunup to sundown. And you are going through different meetings, and the topics of these meetings will change every 15 to 30 minutes. And so any congressman or congresswoman will need to rely on their staff to help them execute their agendas, right? And so staffers become these really important actors on Capitol Hill to help define, redefine, execute what a member of Congress wants to do. You are a member of Congress, I would argue, is only as good as their staff, right? The ideas that they are putting forth to them. They are the first, in many ways, constituents will talk to about their about their problems. And so you need a good staff who can be able to sort of identify problems that are happening in districts and across the country and actually bring that to the member to develop really thoughtful policy solutions. One of the things that I found working in Congress as an intern literally 20 years ago, I should mention the context. Liz King was my intern supervisor. And so I really developed a love for staffers working with Liz because, it was there that I had to, as a college student, got to work on policy, right? How to think about making education much more equitable for students who have been, historically underserved by our country. I would go into these meetings Liz. And, inevitably they were about the lives of Black and brown children. As an intern, too often not, I was the only Black person in the room, right? And so what does this affect when you are talking about Black and brown issues, but Black and brown people are not in the room to help be a part of the conversation about what our country, what our government does to fix these problems. And so it is a really important problem that has been going on for decades, but one that doesn't get a lot of attention. So I wrote this book to really make this a conversation that every voter talks about, right? Who your congresswoman, who your senator has in their office, because this affects the types of policies that we get out of Capitol Hill.
Dr. Jones, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Liz King used to work for Congressman Shaka Patel, where she advised and represented the congressman on education, healthcare, women, children, and family policies. And I'm grateful that Dr. Jones is going to share with us his insights on the importance of congressional staffers, the importance of diversity, and the great struggle that we are in on Capitol Hill right now. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up.
As a fitness coach, my active psoriatic arthritis can slow me down. With Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, I'm treating my skin and joint symptoms so I can keep moving. Skyrizi, a prescription-only injection for adults, helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And for those who have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible. With Skyrizi, there's no daily dosing. It's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are lighting it up with Liz King on Tenacious Tuesday. Liz, thank you for being here today, and thank you for bringing our guest, Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones and Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Always love the show.
Liz, I want to share this with you. When I made a day one decision when I was elected to Congress, and it was this. And not everyone makes a day one decision. That I wanted people who worked on my congressional staff who were more intelligent, more thoughtful, and more insightful than I was to be on my staff. Now, that's a lot because not many members of Congress start from that place on day one. I was looking for the very best, the very brightest who could be of assistance to me, give me some solid advice. Hence, I asked the former chief of staff to the late Congressman Mickey Leland, Leisha Green, to serve as my chief of staff. I asked Frank Watkins, who was the architect of both my father's presidential campaigns in 1984, 88, ran Reverend Al Sharpton's campaign in 1992, participated in dozens of congressional elections across the country to serve as my communications director, along with our deputy director of communication, Teresa Caldwell and Charles Duhon, all of whom were diverse, they were experienced, they were thoughtful, and they brought a wealth of knowledge and debate to the congressman's office on critical issues that mattered to all people, particularly the Rainbow Coalition and the rainbow politics that my father's campaigns had advanced in 1984 and 88. We didn't want to start over. We didn't want a learning curve. We wanted to move forward. Liz, Dr. Jones's work is critical in helping us understand the input that these qualified staff persons have in helping shape policy, not only for our country, but from around the world. Your thoughts, having worked with Congressman Shaka Fattah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly for Mr. Fattah was similarly a priority. And I mean, both of you are incredible nerds. So the idea that you would find more knowledgeable staff is a very tall order. I was thinking about, one time when I was working on the Hill, I went to a meeting at the White House, and this is when Obama was president, and we were doing the Affordable Care Act. And there was a staffer there who was giving us a presentation about the negotiations. And she was talking about people who don't have health insurance. And the only example she could come up with of someone who didn't have health insurance was an unpaid intern. It didn't occur to her that people worked more than one full-time job and still didn't have health insurance. It didn't occur to her that people worked multiple part-time jobs because they were not allowed to get up to 40 hours and be eligible for health insurance. And I have thought for years and years, like, what does it mean when you have staff who have no real connection to how people's lives actually work and then make decisions? Now, thankfully, we got the Affordable Care Act. It is not without its problems, but, other people were involved in that besides this one staffer. But we think about who are the staff advising this president, right? And they are people who are motivated by hate, by exclusion, by bigotry, who have no understanding of what it's like to be on a forever housing list, trying to get access to a Section 8 voucher, who have no understanding of what it's like to actually use a SNAP benefit to pay for food. And I think we're seeing the effects of when you have leaders who are surrounded by ill-informed, hateful sycophants. And I think we are watching a moment in which there is an intentional effort to purge our government, to purge decision makers of the diverse brilliance and voices of this country. And we know that environmental policy is better when it's informed by people from all over the country, from all sorts of backgrounds. We know that our science is better when it's informed by all sorts of people. We know that our national security policy is better when it's informed by people from all different kinds of backgrounds. And we are watching the terrible decisions. I mean, look at what's going on with Hegseth right now. He is trying to purge from military leadership anybody who is not a white man. And you have military leaders all over the place saying, what are you doing here? You are undermining the commitment to talent that we need. And so I think Dr. Jones really, his research has hit on this critical question of all of the people who go into the decision-making in our government and the need to ensure that those people represent the brilliance across our country and not just this narrow slice of hateful bigots and narrow-minded.
Dr. Jones, I was crystal clear when I was elected to Congress in 1995 that I was the byproduct of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, that Section 5 mattered to the constituents and to the shape of my congressional district and to my voice. I was super conscious of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and how free my voice was growing up in Jesse Jackson's household. I recognized very early on, which some members of the CBC recognized, that we are kind of the Trojan horse for progressive politics. When we get there, we bring with us women and the LGBTQ community. We bring with us progressives. We bring with us people who are the least of these, without healthcare, without housing, without decent, safe, and affordable housing or equal high quality education. We bring all of that. And so our staffs, oftentimes, those of us who are conscious of that, reflective of that, make that the point. But I've also seen liberals within the Congress, Dr. Jones, and maybe you can expound upon this, who, because we were there and because we brought those progressive voices, even though maybe on 90 or even 85% of the issues, we would always vote on these issues, their staffs never completely represented, in many cases, the interests that we represented, even though our politics may be aligned. And I can only imagine, with fewer members of the Congressional Black Caucus in the future and Hispanic Caucus in light of Louisiana versus Calais, that one, we will have members in Congress who will bring this kind of activism to the institution, the last plantation, as you've correctly assessed that it is, not was, but is, and whether or not they have a desire to even hear from members of staff, of their staffs, who have these very diverse perspectives. What has been your experience in your research, Dr. Jones?
I mean, I think you are hitting on a really important point that, like, I actually haven't even thought about, right? Which is that the decline that we're probably going to see in Black and Latino representation in the next Congress is going to have a dramatic effect on who's going to work in Congress, particularly at the staff level, particularly at the senior staff level, right? And this will shape policy, right? I think, one of the things that always people are surprised when I do, analysis on who's working in Congress and whether this can be who holds a position as a paid intern or who's working at in the most senior positions as staffers, right? And it's like, they'll come to me. It's like, Dr. Jones, those Republicans are bad, aren't they? Right? They really need to do something. And, my response is like, well, their offices aren't that bad. The problem really is white Democrats. If you look at the analysis, of course, Democratic staffs are much more diverse, but that is because of Black, Latino, and Asian members of Congress. If you were to take this group out of the equation, the offices of white Democrats look remarkably similar to white Republicans. Wow. Right? And I think this is the frustration that we sort of see amongst the public, is that, it's kind of all this talk. There's all this talk about racial diversity. But when you really get down to the heart of matter, you don't really see that in how these lawmakers are operating. One of the reasons why I think staff are so important, why we should be asking this question about who's working on Capitol Hill and whether this really reflects your priorities, because I think it says something about who you take advice from, who you think is intelligent, and how you treat these people, right? If I can't depend on you to treat people of color, women, as employees nice, respect them, treat them with dignity, value their opinions, what do you think you're going to do to me as your constituent? So I've always thought that understanding how lawmakers make personnel decisions was a larger way of getting into a question about representation in democratic politics.
Mm-hmm. I think that's absolutely right. And that was my experience. When I was elected to Congress from the 2nd Congressional District, there were 4 synagogues in the 2nd Congressional District, and I made it a point to have representatives in my office who addressed the issues of Israel and the security of Israel, and of course, the two-state solution and Palestinian self-determination was a factor in my service in the Congress of the United States, particularly on the Foreign Operations Committee. But I also had someone on my staff who worked very closely with, for example, African-American clergy and teachers within the district, and the more than 20 African-American mayors who had infrastructure needs, whose job it was to comb through every appropriations bill, particularly transportation and infrastructure bills, to make sure that communities that we lived in the 20th century that still did not have sidewalks or fresh water, that those needs were being met in every Congress that I served in as well. And so, to your point, Dr. Jones, their willingness to listen to what my constituents say, that my constituents themselves felt comfortable speaking with members of my staff, and then holding me accountable to genuinely representing their legitimate economic needs is a factor in that. And Dr. Jones, I'll go one step further with you. Wouldn't you agree that that also impacts international policy when you think about cuts in USAID or even vaccine-related programs in Africa, that our staff members who are persons of color and are sensitive to the African diaspora have a role to say with their member of Congress in ensuring that those programs are sustained and expanded going forward, now that we're looking, for example, at the Ebola crisis?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think what we're talking about is how government works. We're talking about expertise, and you really want the best and the brightest working for our government, right? You want this shaping our policy, right? We talk a lot about representation, and for me, this matters because Congress is supposed to be the people's house, right? It is supposed to be the place out of everywhere in our government where people from diverse interests and diverse backgrounds can come together with and have some type of solution, policymaking solution, right? And it's going to be messy, but we're supposed to be putting together like these sort of really diverse perspectives, right? Thinking of race aside, Congress really operates as a really exclusionary place. Right? It is a political institution, but a workplace second, and it is a horrible workplace, right? It is a horrible workplace in terms of how do you find a job, right? And so, it is exclusionary in that most people don't know how to get job opportunities here. When you do get a job opportunity, it operates through a sort of a network of who you know. And then when you get your first job, it's often going to be either unpaid if you're an intern or low paid work, right? And again, that reinforces this being an exclusionary institution because then the only people who can afford to work in Congress are those who are coming from these sort of privileged backgrounds. So you're not even getting, the sort of economic diversity, those sort of working class perspectives that we need in Congress. As Liz was saying, we're thinking about healthcare policy, right? You're not getting that because in so many different ways, Congress is exclusionary. It is holding back, right? The people who are supposed to be in this institution to sort of voice their opinions about how government should work.
Liz, we have about a minute and 30 seconds before we come forward. Liz, Congress is notorious for passing laws that exempt itself for everybody else and exempts itself from the same workplace rules that it requires of everyone else. Having been there, Liz, your initial thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw this especially with non-discrimination laws that applied to everyone except for Congress. And that is precisely because they knew the transformative power of our civil rights laws. And it is, Dr. Jones' call here to expand our Congress in a way that it is truly a representative body. If not in the 250th anniversary, when are we going to do this? It is about time.
Grateful to Dr. Jones's work. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Liz brings up a very interesting point. We're looking at the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and yet Congress continues to exempt itself from the very laws that it imposes on the rest of the society, and that includes diversity, equity, and inclusion. And oftentimes it is those members, African American and Hispanic members, and the members of Congress who are from the LGBTQ community, who bring those staff members and representation out of sensitivity to their staffs and actually broaden the dialogue within the Congress of the United States and strengthen the fabric of what it means to be an American. We're looking at a very different time and a very different space. We're discussing that today with Liz King and Dr. James Jones. I'm very grateful for their participation. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580 in just a moment.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. June is crunch time for the Supreme Court, with more than 24 opinions expected before summer recess.
There's actually a case now which argues ballots have to be received by election day.
Pending cases include whether states can count mail-in ballots received after Election Day during a 5-day grace period. Another major case involves birthright citizenship after a lower court blocked President Trump's order limiting citizenship for some children born in the U.S. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says she's confident heading into today's primary election. Bass told KABC TV she thinks she'll be fine, as polls show her nearly tied with City Councilwoman Nithya Raman, with Spencer Pratt close behind. And Sean Diddy Combs could face new charges while serving time in New Jersey. TMZ reports Los Angeles officials are reviewing sexual battery claims made by publicist Jonathan Hay, who says Combs assaulted him in 2020 and 2021. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Still hiding your legs because of spider or varicose veins? West Medical offers minimally invasive pain treatments that require little downtime. Most PPO insurance plans cover treatment, and they verify your benefits free. Call 1-800-WEST-MED today for your free consultation.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry said Monday's trade that sent Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett to the Rams would not have happened unless the Rams included linebacker Jared Verse in the deal. Verse made the Pro Bowl in his first 2 seasons with the Rams. Last season, Verse led the Rams in sacks with 7.5 and was second on the team in tackles for a loss. After selecting Victor Wembanyama with the number 1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs have been on a steady rise up the charts. In Wembanyama's rookie season, the Spurs were 22-60 and lost 18 straight games. In year 2, the Spurs were 34-48. This season, the Spurs finished 62-20, second best record in the NBA behind Oklahoma City. This surge has taken the Spurs all the way to the NBA Finals. Game 1 against the Knicks is Wednesday night, 5:30 tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You can't fix what you won't face, and we face it every day. This is KBLA Talk 1580. In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to number 1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction,
backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Medicare Fraud Prevention Week focuses on the actions everyone can take to prevent Medicare fraud, errors, and abuse. Learn how to protect yourself and your loved ones by joining the Senior Medicare Patrol, or SMP, for Medicare Fraud Prevention Week, held the week of June 5th. Learn more at californiasmp.org or by calling 1-855-613-7080.
His mother was a teacher and activist. His father was a Navy veteran. He built a company worth billions, and then he walked away from it, turning from profit to purpose, helping those who need it most. That's Tom Steyer. When big oil tried to pollute our air and water, Tom fought to stop them, and won. When corporations were dodging taxes, Tom closed the loophole and got billions for public schools. And when party leaders were afraid to take on Trump, he led a movement to impeach him.
This president is unfit, he's dangerous, and we need to get rid of him.
Now, Trump is attacking Tom because, like the oil companies and the tax cheats, Donald Trump knows Tom Steyer answers to no one and will do whatever it takes to stop special interests and start lowering costs for Californians.
I can't do it by myself. I need you guys to be with me, and we need to do this together.
Politicians make promises. Tom Steyer makes a difference. Make sure you vote Tom Steyer for governor, June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Tenacious Tuesday, and we're lighting it up with Liz King. Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Glad
Liz,
to be here.
I am so grateful that you brought Dr. James Jones, the author of The Last Plantation, to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's a revealing look at the covert and institutionalized racism lurking in the congressional workplace. His work combines groundbreaking research and compelling firsthand accounts from scores of congressional staffers. Jones's work uncovers the hidden dynamics of power, privilege, and resistance in Congress. He reveals how failures of racial representation among congressional staffers reverberates throughout the American political system and demonstrates how the absence of diverse perspective hampers the creation of just legislation. Centering the experiences of Black workers within this complex landscape, he provides valuable insights into the problems we face, they face, all of us face, the barriers that hinder their progress, our progress, and the ways they contest entrenched inequality. Dr. Jones, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
So excited to be here.
Dr. Jones, when I think about The Last Plantation, I've shared on our radio show since this 250th anniversary is now upon us, from 1619 until July 4th, 1776. That's 157 years where July 4th was just another day. And then from July 4th, 1776 until the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862, 1863, the Gettysburg Address, those 88 years represent just another day. And now we find ourselves at the hour of the publication of your studies and your work, comparing what's taking place on the nation's legislative body, on Capitol Hill, as a form of plantation. Why the imagery of a plantation to describe what staffers are experiencing, and hence the kind of representation we're getting as a result of what their experiences truly are?
So I want to start by saying, even though The Last Plantation is the title of my book, The Last Plantation is not a name that I've given to Congress, right? It's one that members of Congress, their staff, and journalists have used for decades to describe the racial hierarchy that is present on Capitol Hill, right? So this history goes back 6 decades. To the 1964 Civil Rights Act, right, which Congress passed, and some have argued is the most important legislation Congress has ever passed. Because you have to remember, prior to 1964, 90% of American workplaces were segregated by race and gender. The Civil Rights Act changed that, right? It ushered people of color, women, into roles where they were previously excluded, right? And, I think we're living in the year 2026 where, the Trump administration is trying to undo this progress. But again, this is a landmark piece of legislation. The catch is it just didn't apply to Congress. Congress wrote itself out of it, right? And so as it goes, Congress was literally abolishing the plantations that were still actually, functioning in the 1960s, but it left one intact, the U.S. legislature. So it was the last plantation, right? And so, I use this really, recognizable institution, and everyone knows it when you see it. What a plantation is, as a way to unpack the sort of the hidden ways in which race and racism is shaping the business of the legislature from day to day and its policymaking.
When you think about the 1964 Civil Rights Act and you think about Lyndon Johnson and Dr. King and others who helped set the climate for the passage ultimately of that legislation and the compromises of how the legislation actually came into existing, adding sections of it to a transportation bill because you had to get the Southern Democrats and the Dixiecrats to buy into their local projects in order to advance workplace fairness. But there was also within the Congress in 1964 a fairly large group of Southern Dixiecrats who, while they they objected to the idea of civil rights for all Americans, they certainly, Dr. Jones, weren't willing to apply it to themselves. The hypocrisy is obviously evident.
It's so evident, right? I mean, in part, you have to think about how these lawmakers are understanding their own power, right? And, for so long, they can just do whatever they want. And this has been the story of the congressional workplace. It is a place that really is kind of lawlessness, right? There are really, a strange lack of rules, right? And so when we are sort of talking about applying the Civil Rights Act to Congress, and it's not only the Civil Rights Act, right? But it is things like OSHA, right? Thinking about safety and the health environment of workers. These are all things that would have constrained lawmakers' power, their own little fiefdoms, and they have been resistant to that. Right. And so, this, I would argue, explains a lot to why they did not want to apply these various federal workplace laws to Congress, because they wanted to remain in a sphere where they could sort of do whatever they would like and be unquestioned by that.
Liz, I have the privilege, as you well know, of serving in the Congress of the United States. We have about 3 minutes or so before we come forward. Liz, let me ask you a question. Would it help Democrats in the midterms if, in fact, they advance the idea of stronger legislation that would incorporate, if you will, to use the term gerrymander, or to annex, if you will, previous legislation and civil rights laws to the Congress itself and set up the necessary bodies to enforce those laws against members?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are seeing a moment where our federal government, there are too many decision makers with too little accountability. And, I think there's a lot of conversation around things like insider trading and this recognition that members of Congress should not be profiting off of the role in that way, but far less attention to the idea that the entire infrastructure must be more meaningfully accountable. And part of that accountability has to include meaningful workplace rules that ensure non-discrimination in these incredibly important roles. I mean, the reason they excluded themselves is because they knew exactly how powerful these staff were. One thing I hope we'll get to talk about is sort of the way in which these staffer roles work as ladders. Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer were interns one day, and then obviously went on to the careers they had. And then, also Lauren Underwood, who was in Dr. Jones's CBC intern class, started as a Hill intern, as a CBC intern, and is now herself a member of Congress. And so absolutely, we're going to need a serious revolution and accountability for our government officials in a major way.
Dr. Jones, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward. In your title, The Last Plantation, Racism and Resistance in the Halls of Congress, share with us your thoughts on the resistance movement in Congress.
Right. I mean, this is the question I love, right? And this is a story, how I talk about Black staffers, and I didn't see them as victims. I saw them as really powerful people who were doing things on Capitol Hill, and I wanted to sort of tell that story, right? I think, Liz just brought up, the fact that when I was an intern, I was interning with Lauren Underwood, right? And we had these really great ambitions about what we could do. And part of that was the opportunity to work in Congress, right? This gives you a mirror to sort of assess your talents and sort of see how you can, make a change, right? And so this can happen in a variety of ways. I think, what I talk about in the book is how Black staffers have been crucial, right? How they make sure that, if you are having a congressional hearing, that it focuses on the right issues, that you're going to have the right people who are testifying, whether you are, I would say, a variety of ways that, the representation matters. It is important to have, again, a diverse workforce.
And let's just be honest. It's impossible for members of Congress who are doing funerals, who are preaching at church on Sunday mornings, who are registering people to vote, who are doing high school graduations, elementary school graduations, shaking hands, kissing babies, going to hearings, voting thoughtfully on critical pieces of legislation, offering amendments to legislation, sponsoring legislation and filing their own legislation on issues that matter not only to the people of their district, but to people across the country, trying to get 218 votes to pass a piece of legislation and then coordinate it with the Senate of the United States. If you think a member of Congress does all of that by themselves, then you have no idea what you're talking about. I think inherent in what Dr. Jones is talking about is absolutely the truth. A diversity of opinions matter. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward with Lighting It Up with Liz.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelenos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
LADWP customers get rebates up to $1,500 when you install a qualified electric vehicle charger at your home. It's like having a gas station in your garage. Get extra savings when you combine LADWP rebates with federal tax credits on chargers installed before June 30th. Visit ladwp.com/EV today and start saving. That's ladwp.com/EV. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Zach Sokoloff is the only Democrat running for city controller. He is a lifelong Democrat and is endorsed by the California Democratic Party and LA County Democratic Party. Zach taught at Jordan High School in Watts and created a jobs training program to build career pathways for young people. He's fought for equity and justice and will continue that fight as city controller. Vote Democrat. Vote Zach Sokoloff for LA City Controller by June 2nd. Paid for by Zach Sokoloff for Controller 2026. Additional info available at ethics.lacity.gov.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. In the next hour, Dr. Karen McCray is going to be sitting in for Barbara Arnwine. She'll be on the grind with us, covering a number of critical issues, including the primaries that are taking place across the country today. In this hour, we are lighting it up with Liz King. Liz served as the Education Equity Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. Prior to joining the conference, Ms. King served as Senior Policy Associate for the Education at the Children's Defense Fund, where she focused on school discipline reform and school funding equity. Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks, Congressman. Loving the conversation so far.
And I am so honored that your very special guest, our very special guest, Dr. James Jones, Associate Professor of Africana Studies and Sociology and the inaugural director of the Sheila Oliver Center for Politics and Race in America at Rutgers University in Newark, New Jersey, is our very special guest. Dr. Jones, where can we get your book, The Last Plantation, Racism and Resistance in the Halls of Congress?
Well, you can get The Last Plantation anywhere books are sold, but I'll say if you go to Princeton University Press website right now, it's on sale 50% off as a hard copy. So that's where I would go directly.
Fantastic. It's available wherever books are sold. And once again, it's on the Princeton University website. Princeton University Books on their website. Fantastic. Let me ask you another question, Dr. Jones, if I might. And then, of course, Liz, I'm going to give Dr. Jones the opportunity to give us a word of hope at the top of the show. So my question hopefully will be brief. Dr. Jones, I'm wondering if in your reflection, because Congress has a way of kicking the can down the road, if you think the issues raised by Congress and accountability, whether Democrats regain control of Congress in 2026, that we can expect some measures from a new Congress where Democrats will hold the Congress itself to higher standards. We've seen some of everything in this Congress and from this administration. And I'm wondering if compliance with the 1964 Civil Rights Act is something that Democrats can make a big issue in 2026, or whether or not more of the same when Congress turns its attention to Donald Trump. Dr. Jones.
So, to be honest, I'm going to say it's going to be more of the same, right? So, to be sure, Congress passed the Congressional Accountability Act in 1996 to come into compliance. This was a Republican effort. It took 20 years for that to actually become meaningful, and that's only because Congress was shamed into doing so under the Me Too era, right? This has been a problem that both Democrats and Republicans have ignored. I think the way that we change this is by changing who is in Congress, right? I think, there is a complicity that we are seeing across the board amongst members of Congress who are unwilling to sort of challenge the status quo, right? The problems that I talk about in my book are not new by any means, right? They are well known to everyone inside Washington, but they have been unwilling to really address anything. I think the key to changing things is for, the broader public to become knowledgeable about this issue and to then force members of Congress to do this, right? The only way that members of Congress will become accountable is this is something that challenges their reelection.
That's interesting because I have to be honest with you. I share with people when I was in Congress and when I was running for Congress that you're electing me to be your representative. You're not necessarily electing me to be someone who personally can live up to the highest possible standards as your pastor. Liz, I am deeply concerned as to whether or not members of Congress themselves see themselves in the capacity of being able to live to the very high standard that they hold the American people to. Liz?
Yeah, we're in a moment where we're watching members of Congress completely abdicate their constitutional responsibilities. And so I think there is something rotten in this House that needs to be addressed in a major, major way. And so what I hope we see is incredible turnout in the midterm elections, turnout like we've never seen before, and then ongoing accountability. I think it is unfair to ask members of Congress to be perfect. It is perfectly reasonable to ask them to do their damn jobs, to comply with the responsibility given to them by the Constitution, and behave and be held to the same standard as any other employer in the United States. And I think that is an expectation we can have of them, that we should have of them, and that we need to solve problems big and small, and everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play, whether they're working in a congressional office or working at the White House or whatever role they might have, wherever they might be in a local nonprofit or community-based organization. I think we are in a all hands on deck moment in our democracy. And I'm sure you're going to talk about this more in your next segment, but our democracy requires all of us. It requires all of us to bring our gifts and talents, even when they close the door, even when they tell us we're unwelcome, even when they tell us they don't need us. It's up to us to knock down the door, to bring our talents, to bring our perspectives, and to be heard in our democracy.
Dr. Jones, we try to ask our very special guest to offer a word of hope at the conclusion of our show. You have about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Please share with our listeners a word of hope.
So I have to say, I'm an Africana Studies professor, right? And so, I'll talk about, racism in American government, and white supremacy. And, people are often surprised when they get to the end of my class that they learn that I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist because I believe and I love Black folks, right? I'm an optimist, even though I'm studying something called The Last Plantation, that there are Black people there who have fought for something that is greater. So I think as long as Black people are there, as long as we are here, we will survive and we will contribute to something that has always been greater than ourselves, right? And so I think that the challenges that we are facing are numerous. They are scary, right? But I think we are living in a period of uprising, a period of resistance, where people are saying no, right? And I think the moment we're finding ourselves in are people coming together and trying to live out our democratic possibilities and promises. And I think that is an incredibly rich moment to be in.
Dr. Jones, thank you for coming on our show today.
Thank you so much.
Please know that you're always welcome back. Liz, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Congressman, the feeling is mutual. I hope to see you soon.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We'll be on the grind with Dr. McCrae when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. June is crunch time for the Supreme Court, with more than 24 opinions expected before summer recess.
There's actually a case now which argues ballots have to be received by election day.
Pending cases include whether states can count mail-in ballots received after Election Day during a 5-day grace period. Another major case involves birthright citizenship after a lower court blocked President Trump's order limiting citizenship for some children born in the U.S. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says she's confident heading into today's primary election. Bass told KABC TV she thinks she'll be fine, as polls show her nearly tied with City Councilwoman Nithya Raman, with Spencer Pratt close behind. And Sean Diddy Combs could face new charges while serving time in New Jersey. TMZ reports Los Angeles officials are reviewing sexual battery claims made by publicist Jonathan Hay, who says Combs assaulted him in 2020 and 2021. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Still hiding your legs because of spider or varicose veins? West Medical offers minimally invasive pain treatments that require little downtime. Most PPO insurance plans cover treatment, and they verify your benefits free. Call 1-800-WEST-MED today for your free consultation.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry said Monday's trade that sent Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett to the Rams would not have happened unless the Rams included linebacker Jared Verse in the deal. Verse made the Pro Bowl in his first 2 seasons with the Rams. Last season, Verse led the Rams in sacks with 7.5 and was second on the team in tackles for a loss. After selecting Victor Wembanyama with the number 1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs have been on a steady rise up the charts. In Wembanyama's rookie season, the Spurs were 22-60 and lost 18 straight games. In year 2, the Spurs were 34-48. This season, the Spurs finished 62-20, second best record in the NBA behind Oklahoma City. This surge has taken the Spurs all the way to the NBA Finals. Game 1 against the Knicks is Wednesday night, 5:30 tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's celebrate. Y'all did it. Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA! Yeah, man! The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Tenacious Tuesday On the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, the first hour, we were with Liz King, our most tenacious guest on Tuesdays, the first hour. And of course, in the second hour, Barbara Arnwine, who has a family emergency in this hour. And so we're certainly praying for Barbara Arnwine and the family emergency that she is taking care of and dealing with at this moment. But I'm honored in this hour that Dr. Karen McCray, the president and CEO of the National Organization of Concerned Black Men, she is the first female to serve in this position. Before CBM, Dr. McCray served as the fundraising director for Church World Service, executive director for the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, and executive director of the organization founded by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the founder of Black History Month, the Association for Study of African American Life and History. She's also served as executive director of one of the nation's leading organizations comprised of senior African American corporate executives of Fortune 500 companies. Dr. McCray, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I think Dr. McCray's microphone may be muted.
There you
Dr.
are.
McCray, hey, how are you?
Can you hear me?
I certainly can. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I am so grateful that you are here.
Good.
Dr.
I think my
McCray,
internet's going in and out, so I apologize.
oh, please don't leave me on the show by myself, but I would certainly appreciate the internet spirit energy to make sure that it stays connected. Amen. Dr. McCray, hey, let me ask you a question that I asked of one of our regular contributors just a couple of days ago about the geopolitical location of where we are as a people at this hour. And it really stems from your leadership at the Association for the Study of Afro-American Life and History. Abraham Lincoln on an occasion said, if we knew where we were tending, that is essentially whether we are or whither we are, we can better discern where we are going and how we would best address how we get there. Dr. McCray, where are we?
Yeah, I think we're at a very interesting crossroads. But first, I want to extend my condolences to you. I know how close you were to the Leaks family. Extend my condolences, heartfelt. But I think we're at a very interesting time, and it calls for us to not only be strategic, but to also make sure our voices are heard more so now than before. And I also believe that part of our responsibility is to knock on doors, go to barbershops, go to hair is needed to educate those who need to be educated, and to get them out to make sure their voices are heard in 2026 and beyond. We have a history of standing up for ourselves and what we believe in. I think they saw some evidence of that in South Carolina when they turned back the whole redistricting thing. I think that if we use that as an example, or even New Orleans, Louisiana, when those measures of the governor didn't go forward because of the increase in Black voter turnout, we have seen in real time what happens when we vote. And we need to crystallize that message going forward to everybody who will listen, and even to those who don't, because it's too important. We've got too many elections on the table. We've got too many issues because of this administration, and we've got to get on the stick.
A big election in California today, a big election in the city of Los Angeles, where the Democratic nominee, well, really not, because it's a nonpartisan election, will be determined. And so if you are within the range of our voices on KBLA Talk 1580, go vote. Go vote. Your voice counts. It matters.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about it all day long, but if those of you in California don't show up at the polls and send a signal to the nation of the resistance that we expect, given what we are confronting as a nation and as a people, we will simply find ourselves in the exact same place we are in at this moment. So I really appreciate your thoughts on that, Dr. McCray. I'm wondering in this moment, and we have just about 2 minutes before we come forward for our break, when you look at what happened to potentially happened to Jim Clyburn and South Carolina, and obviously the Cleo Fields in Louisiana, and the threat to Benny Thompson, the struggle that we find ourselves in 2026 is obviously the same place we're going to find ourselves in 2028, in 2030 with the reapportionment plan, and the census, and 2032, the redistricting plan nationally. We are in quite a battle for quite a long period of time that does extend beyond 2026. Correct, Dr. McCray? Yes, we are definitely in a struggle between now and 2032 because each of these 2-year cycles
I didn't hear the last part.
give conservatives and within the Republican Party, within the MAGA coalition, an opportunity to file lawsuits and to challenge the very shape of voices that we send to the Congress of the United States. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our very special guest in this hour is Dr. Karen McCray, the president and CEO of the National Organization of Concerned Black Men. We will be right back in just a moment. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it.
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God.
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
Yeah, man.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Tenacious Tuesdays, and we are with Dr. Karen McCray, the president and CEO of the National Organization of Concerned Black Men, also former executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation and executive director of the organization founded by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the founder of Black History Month, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Dr. McCray, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. McCray will be with us momentarily, a small technical difficulty. I am in this moment reflecting upon our previous conversation with Dr. James Jones, and I'm thinking about, while we have focused primarily on the redistricting efforts of members of Congress who, if we don't vote, if we don't participate in the primary process in California, which is taking place today, the end of second Reconstruction could look like the end of first Reconstruction, and we'd be heading generally in the direction of fewer African Americans, Hispanics, and people of color in the Congress of the United States representing us entirely. But Dr. James Jones, in the last hour, the author of a new book called The Last Plantation, Racism and Resistance in the Halls of the Congress of the United States, reminds us that these members of Congress bring with them super qualified staffs. That's about 18 people who work to provide the congressman with information that ranges all the way from what to vote for, how to vote, what to vote on, to providing policy papers, to helping draft and craft legislation that matters to our people. In other words, it's not just the members of Congress that we could be losing in this process. It is the staff persons who interact with the committees, with the other members of Congress, to try and reach a consensus to get 218 votes around whatever piece of legislation is being offered by members of Congress. And so I'm very grateful in this hour that Dr. Karen McCray, the former executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, is with us. Dr. McCray, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And I still think we have a technical difficulty. But the point is, no member of Congress can do this by themselves. I mean, the number of people, the sheer number of people who work for Jim Clyburn is mind-blowing. The number of people who work for Hakeem Jeffries, including members of Congress who relate to the leader's office in the Congress of the United States, it's mind-blowing. The fact that his office has liaisons in every major agency in the federal government, it's just mind-blowing because he is the Democratic leader in the Congress of the United States. And so while we are concerned about our representation in terms of the color and the attitude, the historical perspectives of members of Congress who are elected from voting rights districts, they also come with them with a staff of people who are super qualified to answer questions of transportation and disparities, from health to education to housing, and to make sure that their members of Congress at all times are on point. And that is not something that you just wake up in the morning doing. That's people who literally, in the case of my staff, like Charles Duhon, an Asian American who dedicated his life to much of the 17 years that I served in the Congress of the United States, he practically lived in the office. You come in the office and Charles in the morning was on his way to the staff restrooms for a shower, because that's just the nature of the job. To make sure that I was prepared the next morning actually mattered. Karen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. Sorry
Karen.
about that. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, not a problem at all. Karen, listen, our Dr. James Jones was our last guest on the program in the last hour, and he wrote a book called The Last Plantation, Racism and Resistance in the Halls of Congress. He posits in it a thesis that more than the member of Congress, there are staffs on Capitol Hill that matter to this proposition as well. And when they tend to come from voting rights district, their voices are far freer when they come from a congressman from a voting rights district than, let's say, the white liberals in the Congress, some of whom hire black staffers, others of whom hire staffers who may be black in color and may be black in aptitude, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the congressman wants to hear their views and points of views on the staff. Can you share with our listeners some of the reality of what it means to be a congressional staffer and some of the challenges that they confront? Okay. I think we're still having the exact same technical difficulty. I can speak for that to that issue myself, that they do confront challenges. And in these challenges, working with the majority, working with the minority, but not only challenging Republicans, but working within the Democratic Party to get the Democratic Party and hold the Democratic Party accountable to our issues. I share with everyone all the time, it is a factor in representation. And at this hour, with the loss of certain congressional representation that are largely tied to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, African Americans are being asked to be more Democratic leaning than they are to lean on their own interests in the Congress in order to stop the drift towards authoritarianism. In short, African Americans are being asked to make a greater sacrifice at this hour just so that marginal Democrats can help Democrats gain a majority. I'm sorry, Dr. McCrae? Dr. McCrae, can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but I do think we have a technical
Can you hear
problem.
me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yes, I can. I don't know what the fallacy is with respect to just because folks cosplay being Black, where they can actually serve Black constituencies on Capitol Hill. The numbers of Black staff members on Capitol Hill is not increasing, so to speak. It is staying status quo, and in many cases, it's decreasing. And the CBC, of which you were a part of, is still called the conscience of the Congress, the conscience of the Congress. So they have their ears to the ground with respect to issues that not only affect Black people, but also affect low-income people in particular. Whereas a lot of the other members are really beholden to their large donors and things of that nature. So they don't have their ear to the ground as many of those in the CBC do, as an example. And that's the target of this redistricting. Moreover, cutting the CBC in half will not diminish its effectiveness, because it was effective when it was started in 1976, I believe, when it had 12 members or 9 members, and then when it had 28 members, and then when it had now record numbers. So it's not going to lose its effectiveness. What'll happen is it will pigeonhole the voices, and they're trying to change the argument so that, a Black district, are you saying that it has to be represented by a Black person? No, what we're saying is, if we built the table that you're seeing, we need to be at the table as well. And it's been happening, how they change this whole redistricting discussion is really, par for the course with respect to why it is even more important for us to be seen, be heard, be counted, and have our voices represented by folks who understand our current. And that is income. That's related.
We are having, again, some more technical difficulties. Dr. McCrae, we are having some technical difficulties. I share with you the concern. I think when you think about the effectiveness of the Congressional Black Caucus when it was just 12 members, when you think about Augustus Hawkins, and you think about Perrin Mitchell, you think about John Conyers, and you think about the caliber of the representatives that we had in the Congress. These men and women made their mark in the civil rights movement itself. Walter Fauntroy. These men and women, Shirley Chisholm, Barbara Jordan, had their feet on the ground and were elevated to the Congress. Andrew Young, elevated to the Congress of the United States. But increasingly, we have a generation that know not Pharaoh, or that know not the wilderness experience. And they may be black in the Congress, they may be articulate, they may be clear, but they lack the historical connection that John Lewis had while serving in the Congress. And so the dilution of our voices, Dr. McCray, as you well know, is of concern in terms of the authentic nature of our representation.
Oh, absolutely. And I changed devices, so I'm hopeful this will help.
Oh, you sound much better. You sound much better.
Good. But yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's when you talk about someone like Mr. Conyers, when you talk about someone like even Gus Savage or
Yep, my man right there.
Exactly. And so many others, Mr. Crockett, just so many others who understood from firsthand knowledge about migrating from the South to the North and what it meant for their community, and making sure that their voices were heard. We cannot underestimate that impact. We can't underestimate that experience and what it brings to. They're not talking about book knowledge. They're not talking about theoretical hypotheses. They're talking about lived experiences, either they or their parents or their grandparents' experience. And for this administration and this particular Congress to now say, 61 years of full citizenship is enough. We've got to get on the ground and be on the ground and fighting, and showing up and being in those spaces where they don't expect us to be. And that, in particular, at the ballot box. We don't know exactly what they're going to do with this election and our votes, but we have an idea of the shenanigans that are going to go on, and we've got to be prepared for that. So for folks who need to check their registrations now, make sure they're listed, find out in advance where you're supposed to vote. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
If you're listening to me and listening to Dr. McCray in this hour, there is an election taking place in California right now. If you have not voted, you need to go to your nearest polling place that's tied to your voter registration and your address, and you need to cast your ballot for a candidate for governor and for a candidate to be the mayor of Los Angeles, California. I believe those are the two offices that are on the ballot in the state of California. And how the state of California goes will determine how the rest of the country goes. And tonight is an opportunity for California to send to the rest of the nation a major signal about our participation, about our engagement. I want to share with you, Dr. McCray, that when I was first elected to Congress, Congressman Lou Stokes was still in the Congress of the United States, and he was on the Labor, Health, and Human Services Appropriations Committee, and I succeeded him on that committee. And I sat down for several weeks with Congressman Stokes, who shared with me the projects and the things that we needed to do at NIH, at the CDC, that needed to be followed up on, that he commenced.
That's right.
And elevating the Office of Research on Minority Health to a national center, and then elevating it to a national institute, would be the responsibility that would fall upon me as the only African American on the subcommittee funding the Department of National Institute of Health and the Department of Health and Human Services. And so the historical memory and the continuity of addressing health care and health disparities, which Lou Stokes championed in the Congress of the United States, would be transferred and followed up upon by a succeeding generation of Americans who are part of that proposition.
That's
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Dr. Karen McCray, President and CEO of the National Organization for Concerned Black Men, is our very special guest. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. New York City Mayor Mamdani is not ruling out screen time limits for students in school.
I'm looking forward to considering any additional suggestions there are.
It comes as Governor Kathy Hochul proposes limiting laptop and iPad use for elementary students during class. Community groups in Dayton, Ohio are calling for unity after a violent weekend left one person dead and others hurt in several shootings. Dayton's NAACP president wants the city to expand its violence interruption program, while Racial Justice Now says gun violence should be treated as a public health crisis. And star sprinter Clara Adams, who is Black, is suing the California Interscholastic Federation after being stripped of her gold medal last year. Adams won the 400-meter state final at 16, but was disqualified for briefly spraying her shoes with a fire extinguisher during her celebration. The move drew protests from the NAACP. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Still hiding your legs because of spider or varicose veins? West Medical offers minimally invasive pain treatments that require little downtime. Most PPO insurance plans cover treatment, and they verify your benefits free. Call 1-800-WEST-MED today for your free consultation.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry said Monday's trade that sent Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett to the Rams would not have happened unless the Rams included linebacker Jared Verse in the deal. Verse made the Pro Bowl in his first 2 seasons with the Rams. Last season, Verse led the Rams in sacks with 7.5 and was second on the team in tackles for a loss. After selecting Victor Wembanyama with the #1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs have been on a steady rise up the charts. In Wembanyama's rookie season, the Spurs were 22-60 and lost 18 straight games. In year 2, the Spurs were 34-48. This season, the Spurs finished 62-20, second best record in the NBA behind Oklahoma City. This surge has taken the Spurs all the way to the NBA Finals. Game 1 against the Knicks is Wednesday night, 5:30 tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We don't do ordinary. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelinos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Let's
Y'all did it.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God.
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Tenacious Tuesday, where Dr. Karen McRae is filling in for Barbara Arnwine. Dr. Karen McRae is the president and CEO of the National Organization of Concerned Black Men, the first female to serve in this position. She's also served as executive director of one of the nation's leading organizations comprised of senior African-American corporate executives of Fortune 500 companies. Dr. McRae, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So glad you're here. Let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Because you are an iconic and a world iconic figure as well, in that you are the executive director and president of an organization made up primarily, but not limited to, Black men who are concerned. In light of the midterms, what are you hearing from Black men about their participation and the hour within which we find ourselves?
It's an interesting question. From those over 40, the concern is we've got to get out and vote. For those 39 and under to 18, they're still kind of hapless. Why? What does it mean for me? How is it going to improve my condition? Am I going to get a job as a result of this? And in those conversations, at CBN, we handle those conversations one-on-one or in small groups so that folks can understand why it's important on a granular level, whether it be, okay, this is how it affects you on a local level. This is how it affects you on a statewide level. And we go up. We titrate up so that people understand what the impact will be. Now, in recent years, for example, in 2022, we saw a modest increase between the ages of 18 and 39, but it's still not enough, in my opinion. Collectively, as you know, we had about 87% of Black men that voted in 2024. But we still need to be up in 90 percentile, in my opinion, and at least par on what Black women turnout is. And we have the capacity there. If we look across the board, across all states, with respect to who is eligible to vote versus who actually votes, that's where our margin is that we can make up, as you are more than aware of. So that's where we target. What's it going to take to get that number to the polls, that margin to the polls?
Dr. McRae, when I reflect upon the two demographic groups within African American men that you brought up, the older group seems to me that they knew who John Lewis was. I mean, they knew the struggle. They participated in it, And so they understand the significance and the importance of the hour. And then there is this kind of wilderness experience from those who are under 35 to the age of 18, who knew not Pharaoh, if you will, or who knew not David. And so they find themselves without, the very history that Carter G. Woodson, when he implored us, don't be so much concerned about the Negro of history, but be concerned about the Negro in history.
Correct.
The role that he has played we have played in shaping that. Is their understanding of history an important factor in moving them to participation?
I wish it were, but where are they getting the history? There used to be a time, if you recall, and I know in my younger years, we had a community center, we had churches, we had Black history that we learned independent of schools. We don't really have that anymore. The other thing you have to realize that occurs to me as well, too, as I'm sure you know, is that they took civics out of schools, years ago. But those people who are now in their late 40s, early 50s, those are the ones who don't know how government is supposed to run.
Isn't that something?
Instances, exactly. And those are who are now being elected to Congress and other places of influence, who don't have an understanding, a basic understanding of how our country is supposed to work. So they're challenging the constitutionality of things because they don't know what the Constitution is. And they have no idea how our government is supposed to work. When they were watching it in cartoons on television, how Bill is made and all that other business, that ended. So they don't even have that cursory understanding of how our government works. And that's part of, I think, the disconnection of what we're experiencing now.
I think we went from Schoolhouse Rock to Schoolhouse Rap.
Exactly.
without government content, without civic content.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. And we're seeing the results now. And then and we also have to factor in the instantaneous thinking and philosophy of, social media and things of that nature. And that, they're getting their opinions that they're taking as facts from people who don't know themselves, and their sources of news and information is somebody's opinion. So the distortion of how this country actually flows and works. I mean, basic political science when I was instructing and learning was bargain, negotiate, compromise. Those three tentacles are no longer part of the landscape in which we're living in from a governmental point of view. It's either us or them. It's the Hatfields and the McCoys. And if you're Black on any one of those spectrums, you are for yourself.
You're out of luck.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's part of what our young people are experiencing it. And then we have a responsibility, those of us who are older, over 40 or so, to teach those underneath us. And we don't do that. That's one of the reasons why CBM is creating a research institute, because we've got to get into, how do we teach our babies where they factor in and where they didn't factor in and what the constitutionality is of their existence.
Madam President, while the comparison may not be equal, but when I look at what the Deltas are doing and the AKAs are doing, Black women are showing a tremendous engagement in the political process in ways that we haven't seen in a generation.
Yes.
Not only running for office themselves, but their interest has largely peaked. Turnout could be generated by Kamala Harris. But I also think that the tabletop issues, that homes headed by women where there is no man, are also a factor in their participation in the process. Can you speak, obviously, as a woman, you clearly can you speak to their re-engagement and their continued expansive engagement in the system at this time?
Oh, yes. I think that Madam Vice President had a great deal to do with that. But I also think necessity has a great deal to do with that, because Black women were, in many instances, in a lot of instances, raising their children by themselves as a single parent. And I also think that the impact of not having, whether it's a man in a house or positive role models in proximity, also has something to do with it as well too. Male role models, so that we can shape the conversation. Because even though women drive the power, so to speak, in our communities, in our households, it's men that keep our communities together. And if they're engaged, our communities thrive. The research will demonstrate that if Black men are not engaged in our communities don't thrive as well as they could. And that's problematic as well too. So I think that has a great deal to do with it, if we're looking at it from that point of view. But even we don't have AKAs and Deltas, of which I'm one, an AKA. I know for a fact that we have social engagement as a priority within our organization, just as the Deltas do. No matter what the topic is, it's on the forefront of our agenda. When we talk to members of Black fraternities, it's important, but it's not necessarily a priority. And coming together around the table is important, whether they come together on their own or collectively. I believe they need to do it collectively, whether it's with CBM, 100 Black Men, and any other organization that's dealing with men, so that we can get, or even Win with Black Men, so that we can get the forefront, get a community and a coalition together of Black men to speak to other Black men and young men.
Dr. McCray, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Karen McCray is the president and CEO of the National Organization of Concerned Black Men. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for state superintendent of public instruction,
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for state superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Medicare Fraud Prevention Week focuses on the actions everyone can take to prevent Medicare fraud, errors, and abuse. Learn how to protect yourself and your loved ones by joining the Senior Medicare Patrol, or SMP, for Medicare Fraud Prevention Week, held the week of June 5th. Learn more at californiasmp.org or by calling 1-855-613-7080.
You still have time to vote. Skip the lines and return your ballot to any official ballot drop box near you leading up to Tuesday, June 2nd. So don't wait and vote early. Visit plan.lavote.gov to learn more. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Hey, KBLA listeners, this is Stephen Bradford, candidate for State Insurance Commissioner on June 2nd. I've spent my entire life as a public servant on the Gardena City Council, the State Assembly, and the State Senate, standing up for working families, small businesses, seniors, and communities that are too often left behind. I'm running for State Insurance Commissioner because we need an advocate, a watchdog, who will make sure insurance is not only available, but affordable for all Californians. I, like you, am tired of being dropped from coverage after doing everything right, or wondering if anyone is on your side after a disaster strikes. I will be your strongest advocate to make sure we have a vibrant insurance market that creates greater competition and more choices for consumers like yourself. We need a market that serves all of California. As your next insurance commissioner, I will be that warrior to make sure all Californians have affordable insurance. Your ballots have arrived. I ask you to vote for Stephen Bradford as your next insurance commissioner. Stephen Bradford, a name you know. Stephen Bradford, a name you can trust. Vote by June 2nd.
Paid for by Stephen Bradford for Insurance Commissioner.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Tenacious Tuesday, where our very special guest, Dr. Karen McCray, President and CEO of the National Organization of Concerned Black Men, is our very special guest. If you're listening to me right now and you're on the 110, the 118, the 5, or the 10, the 101, or the 405, I know you're on your way to vote. You got to be on your way to vote. You can't possibly, in California, if you didn't vote before you went to work, or you didn't vote absentee, you couldn't be going anywhere else right now but to vote. So this is a reminder that if you're listening to us right here at KBLA Talk 1580, that you will determine, quite possibly, the next governor of the state of California this evening. You will determine who the mayor of the city of Los Angeles will be this evening, if you hear my voice. So, on your way to Starbucks, on your way to the grocery store, on your way to happy hour, or wherever it is you think you're going, we hope and pray in this hour that you will find time not only to take yourself to a polling place, but to take your loved ones to a polling place, to drive down some streets honking your horn, reminding people on the bus, on the train, on public transportation, in the Uber to go vote. It's enough complaining, enough talking about what's wrong, when today the power is in your hand to make the difference. You get to speak up in the democracy today. That's the significance of this hour.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. McCray, I know that you have so much more to talk about in the next 6 minutes that comprise our show. What would you say to people who should be voting today and why they should be voting today? We've got 6 minutes.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, we have to be mindful of is in California, like New Jersey, Iowa, Montana, all the other places, New Mexico, where they're voting today, that's going to can determine House representation going forward for 2026. And that's how we can put some checks and balances in place since this Congress has abdicated its responsibility. I think the other thing we have to be mindful of, it can also serve, when they say, when California sneezes, everybody else catches the cold. That's been the rub for years. And I think that's very real with respect to the importance of California at this time. And in this reality that we're living in. California is a bellwether. We have to have voter enthusiasm. We have to get people out. We have to have people understand that it can set the stage going across the country between now and 2026, moving into later on this year, November of 2026, and then going into 28. We have to get the momentum building. We have to get everybody else to understand the importance, how this is affecting your lives. If you think gas prices are too high, what do you do about it? You give back House control to the Democrats. And I know that we're nonpartisan to some degree, but you give it to people who care about your daily life and who don't give someone like the person occupying the office now carte blanche, just a blank check to do whatever he wants. If you want to end these monuments, which are, since I've been to DC, which is a pet peeve of mine, see all these banners and everything going up with images and with images on money, images on passports, Arc de Triomphe in honor of a living president, those kinds of things as priorities, building a ballroom. When we have people that are hungry, people that were kicked off of Medicare, kicked out of Medicaid, people that are, on the brink of starving who have now, digressed to one meal a day because they can't afford it. Young people who are going to school for the only meals in many instances that they can get or have opportunity to eat. Our country is in dire straits and we're killing ourselves from within because of policies that don't give a damn about who we are as a community and as a people. And, when we have a possible, health crisis, who's in charge of that? Even with the nomination today of a house builder to be the director of the national intelligence. I mean, in what world does that make sense? And then you say DEI is a problem because Black people have been promoted beyond their educational level, when you have on the flip side people who are being promoted beyond their capability. You've got a plumber who is head of Homeland Security. You've got a near drunk who's over Department of Defense, and it's just getting worse and worse. So I think that this election will set the stage. How we vote today in California and in other subsequent primaries coming will set the tone and the enthusiasm that's needed to check this power and put some balance in place. And I think that's vitally important.
You can hear our voices in Arkansas, in California, in Iowa, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Carolina, South Dakota, Indiana, and Texas. If you can hear our voices, you have just a few hours left to vote to help shape the direction of the United States of America and determine the trajectory of American and maybe even human history as to whether or not the American experiment in this election will endure. Its imperfections notwithstanding. It has been a long journey. We've even argued in this space for our own people's reparations, which are long overdue. But the fact of the matter is, what comes next might be an entity or a government that comes into existence that says it owes us absolutely nothing.
That's right.
We can hold the United States accountable to its history and what it owes us. But what may come next, we may not be able to hold accountable to our history. It may not call itself the United States of America. It may call itself something else. And so in this moment, I'm thinking, Dr. McCray, about something that Raphael Warnock said. I hope it motivates people on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, and the 110 who need to be going to vote right now. He said, a vote is a kind of prayer that each of us casts for the kind of world that we want to build. Your vote is a kind of prayer.
That's right.
On Tenacious Tuesday for the kind of world that you want to build, and it is presented in the form of a kind of prayer that you have the opportunity to cast. Dr. Karen McCray, President and CEO of the National Organization of Concerned Black Men, has been our very special guest in this hour. I'm so grateful, Karen, that you spent this time with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and I apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but thank you so much.
Not your fault at all. On this show, we blame Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward right here at KBLA. Go vote.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.